Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America in English. Your hosts for today, Ivan Pineda, Christian Rosendo, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Let's start the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast. Welcome to our Lady Aguilas Talk edition of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping everything that has been going on in the world of Coapa in regards to the ladies. We're going to be recapping that game against León. We're going to be talking about this upcoming match against Santos and plenty more stuff along the way. But as always, let me introduce today's co-host. It is Brooklyn's very own AJ. AJ, how are we?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Ivan. How about you?
Well, it's Thursday, almost Friday. Can't complain. Can't complain at all. But today, AJ, we're not alone. We're joined by a very special guest. It is someone from the Liga MX English and Feminine community, and someone who is very vast in the knowledge of both of those leagues. It is none other than Mr. Eugene Rapinski. I hope I got your last name right, Eugene. But thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Great to have you on. We know that you're quite the advocate of Liga MX Femenil, and you're always, up to date. I saw you tweeting a little bit earlier today about the whole Tigres and Chivas matchup, so I know you're very attentive and very well aware of what's going on in the league.
It was hard watching one on TV and one on my phone, but I managed to pull it off, and we'll see how much I got out of both of them when I try and do the recap later.
Hey, well, that's dedication right there. Dedication right there to the fullest. So I think, AJ, we got the right man to come on to talk and preview this upcoming match.
This is going to be really fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Happy to have Eugene along the way. All right, gentlemen. Well, let's kick things off with the game that just happened not so long ago. America Femenil traveled to Guanajuato and came away with all 3 points. AJ, whilst we didn't get the clean sheet that we wanted, we definitely ended up walking away with 3 points that are very, very well appreciated. How did you see the ladies in that game? Again, wasn't the most well-rounded matchup, but at the end of the day, got all 3 points.
So it's coming to a thing where it's starting to become like a tale of two halves kind of thing. So like in the very first half, we had to start things off Celine Valera in the 8th minute with a header coming from Veronica Perez. Wonderful pass by her. And in the 25th minute, we had a Marlene Campa goal that was due to León Femenil captain Claudia Sid commencing a really huge error in which Marlene Campa made the most out of it to then score her very first goal in this season, which I'm happy to see that she scored a goal. But then the second half, it seemed like things kind of dialed down for a bit at that point. It just seemed like it's one of those, like, when you're up 2-0 or 3-0, wherever the scoreline could be at halftime, it seems like, knowing how America Femenil is, it feels like they were just like maybe just too, how should I say, maybe relaxed in the meantime. In the 81st minute, an own goal did happen. Lucero Cuevas tried to make a cross into the box, in which JD tries to save. She almost got her hand right in the ball, but since she was like a bit too far out of the position I usually want her to be in as a goalie, and then it resulted in Monica Rodriguez sticking her foot right out and then making an own goal happen. But from there on, at that point, nothing else really happened after that own goal scored by Monica Rodriguez. A 2-1 victory. It wasn't the greatest of victories, to say in the least, but it's just, 3 points is 3 points, and I just really can't complain much about that.
This is always going to be a difficult matchup for the ladies, I thought, because like we mentioned, AJ, coming into this one, León seemed a little bit of a dark horse in this league. So you knew that their home field advantage at least was going to play some factor to this. I don't know if it actually played to the way we thought it was going to, but I mean, like you mentioned, at the end of the day, the ladies end up getting all 3 points. Eugene, I'm curious, did you watch that game? Do you have a little bit of notes for us? I don't really know if you were able to catch the game or if you have any thoughts in regards to the match.
I wasn't able to catch much of it, mostly just some highlights. I will say this, León is a team that's really kind of up and coming, which is good to see. So, whereas America may have gone in and beaten them 5-0, a couple seasons ago, they held it relatively close. And it was unfortunate for the own goal. I thought that America was extremely unlucky for that. but it's good to see that the quality of play has come up, and America just they keep getting better. It's good to see that. I think you're right that the tale of two halves kind of thing with them. They have a tendency to let teams back in. I mean, they really seem to be in control of the match from what I could tell in the first half. So if they can get that squared away, they'll be extremely dangerous. But hey, they're 5-0-0 right now, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah, and kind of like what I was telling AJ, I think at this point we're really being nitpicky in regards to this. I mean, if it wasn't America, I don't think we would be. But I think you're playing at the team that you're playing, the club, the institution, what it represents. The bar is always set so high, and so I think coming into that, we know what is expected of these ladies. And even you can even go back and listen to our episode where we criticize that 6-1 victory that they had over Necaxa and saying, you know what, it should have been more. It should have been with a clean sheet. And I think that's always going to be the case with America, right? It's always going to be the case. But like you mentioned, Eugene, 5-0 really can't bash these girls for anything, really, because they've been doing the job that most of us would have expected them to do, and they've been doing it just perfectly.
Sure, and so I'm sure their coach would echo the sentiment that nobody's perfect. You never play a perfect game, so that's why you guys do what you do, and as you said, nitpick a little bit, but I mean, hey, that's part of it. They're always improving, and yeah, I mean, they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the league right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the great thing about it too. And then AJ, we're missing a key piece in our midfield with Jen out for what now? That's her third consecutive game that she's missed. So, and the team has still looked as impressive as they have. So I mean, it only brings us a little bit of joy to know that we still have Jen coming into this side, and hopefully we'll make this team just look even that much more better. But going back to this Leon game, you're right, AJ. It is a tale of two halves, and it's been the same narrative for quite some time with these ladies in regards to this Guardianes 2020 season. But I don't know. I felt a little bit more content about this game rather than maybe other games in which we haven't looked our best at home per se. I don't know. I felt always, these away games are always going to be a little bit more difficult, and the ladies did their part, and I think they got the job done. Defensively, I think we looked pretty solid. There wasn't really a lapse of concentration like we had in prior games that cost us a goal, and this one I think was a little bit more of an accident more than anything. I think when you get a ball that close in, and as a defender, you always run the risk of putting it in the back of the net, which unfortunately is what happened with America. But, other times that ball is cleared and we don't even sit here and even talk about that play because it just kind of blends in with the background.
I think you're actually right about that. It's like for the most part, like America in the first and second half, they were on top of the game. Like Leon had 11 shots in that game with 7 of them being on target, but JD does her very best to block every single shot or save, which is really good. As you mentioned, that own goal, it's bound to happen at some point because what I thought looking into that own goal was like, oh, JD actually had a touch on the ball. Like she dived in like at the right time. She was just like a hair of a second too late. And then Monica having to stick her foot out like in an incorrect position where it's like as if a player was going to give like a 1-2 pass and you just finish it with the side of your foot. So that's exactly what happened. I think Monica was trying to actually clear it out. But then when she realized like where her foot was positioned at, especially seeing her reaction at the very end, she's kind of like, I messed that one up. But then like it's a thing where it's like none of the defense really got mad or anything, or JD's is just like, okay, that's fine. It's like no worries. Like even her teammates comforted Monica. It was like, that's fine, no worries. Like there was not much we can do right there, considering that she was the only one that was trying to get the ball out. But no, like overall, like America, we had then our 7 shots, and with 4 of them being on target, we were getting a lot of shots in. We definitely could have maybe added another goal or 2 in there with Daniela Espinosa because she did get a penalty called around the 50th minute mark or so, but she happens to hit the post. So then there was that. Then it could have been 3-1 right there. But just like like you said, Evan, like we're like just nipping at the little things with America Fanny, but all they were doing their job at the very end. Like the player with the squad that we have, it's like we're doing our very best. Just like we're going to be heading into our 6th game of the season so far. It's like there's always still room for improvement. Like we can't just be instantly just like like saying because we let 1 goal in like in a Necaxa game like a 6. It's like no, it's a bad game. it was a great game to watch for the Feminine overall. It's just like just small little defensive errors like that. Well, I feel like it can happen at any time, but I just hope like it's one of those instances where it's like I really hope this does not bite us later on in the playoffs where we happen to see one of those small little defensive errors happen, and it's just like, okay.
I think the word that I'm taking away from what you were saying is room for improvement. I think like you mentioned 6 games coming into this. I think America Femenine little by little have shown improvements. And I mean, if you look at the track record that's following these past couple of games, you look at, okay, these results look really well on paper. They must be playing really well. Granted, they have moments in which they do, but like we mentioned, room for improvement. So I think once we get to like Jornada 15, 16, you finally have a well-rounded America Femenine side that has one set formation that they're going to use, whether it's going to be the 4-4-2 or the 4-3-3, that they have a set starting 11, where hopefully all your players are healthy and ready to go. And then finally a style, a tactic, a form to play at. We're seeing sometimes that they like to be very possessive on the ball. Sometimes they're playing long ball. Sometimes they're defending, try to get on the counter. It's trying to find and figure out that identity, what works well for these players and what's going to work well against certain rivals. So it is promising to see kind of how things are going for America. But like you mentioned, Danny so close to getting that 50th goal and breaking that record for America Femenil. That would have been really, really exciting. And Eugene, just something I talked to AJ about on the podcast. It was like, what a way to score that goal if you end up scoring it in front of your ex teammate who once wore that kind of crown as being the all-time leading goal scorer.
Yeah, it's always players kind of have those little rivalries, friendly rivalries, but rivalries nonetheless. And being able to one up a friend or a teammate is always good.
Yeah, I think internal competition always brings the best out of people. So, and I think that's why we're seeing such a great America Femenil side. Is I think there is so much internal competition that anyone really can. That starting spot is really up for grabs if anyone slips up or makes a mistake. So. But overall, it was a good game. Really fun to watch because, I feel like the ladies are finally starting to gel a little bit more and more as the days go by, especially that defense is exactly what I'm looking at every single game. I mean, any player that stood out to you, AJ, that you kind of want to, give a little bit of a shout out to?
I really want to say on the players that they did get mentioned on the best 11 of the jornada for week 5, but I want to say Jimena Rios, Celine Valera, and Veronica Perez. Like Veronica Perez, like despite her age as being like in the early 30s, she's just proving to just be a really well-rounded midfielder. She's played occasionally on the center midfielder role or the center defensive midfielder role, and she's just always looking for a teammate to pass, no matter where that teammate is at. She's like, I'm gonna either go for a lob, a through ball, short pass, long pass. And it seems like the ball happens to always at least get to the target she's looking for. Jimena Rios, she's one of those left backs. She does go up occasionally if Montserrat Hernandez is all the way up front. She's like, you know what? I'm going to go up there too. She does happen to do a lot of passes at the left-hand side of the field. And Celine Valera, I feel like she's really like a defensive brick wall. It seems like compared to how Jocelyn Orihel plays, where it feels like she's that kind of defender that is great at defending, but she also likes to participate in whatever's going on, where she'll at times go out of her position, just be like, I'm going to go up in the midfield with my teammates, see if I can help out. While Celine Valera just stays back. She happens to already has 2 goals so far into this season, so it shows that a defender can score, which is nice. It kind of reminds me of Estefania Fuentes in a way. But seeing how Celine Valera plays, she's just really defensive. She'll go up maybe once in a while, but all in all, it's like when she does that pass, she just stays put alongside with Monica Rodriguez just to make sure that there's like not that much gap being left behind. So I just really want to give those shouts to those 3 players. Just all in all, they played a really great game against Leon Femenil.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to them, the reason why they made that, starting 11 for the league in regards to that jornada. So hopefully they can continue that good run of form, and hopefully this America Femenil side can keep doing what they're doing, and like you mentioned, improve along the way. But I mean, that's pretty much it in regards to that game. 3 very good, important points away on the road. We know that these road games are never easy, especially because these ladies definitely have to take the bus throughout most of the time. Sometimes, they'll take the plane, but the Guanajuato trip, I don't think it's too bad. I think it's like a 2, maybe 3 hour drive. I'm not too sure. I'd have to Google map it, but yeah, it's good to see that the ladies are off to the start that we predicted and we wanted to. I know AJ, you have them written down for the invincible run. So I mean, we'll see. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, everything. But yeah, excited to see where these ladies can keep on going. And they have a tough one coming up. They have Santos Femenil, which I don't think is going to be an easy walk, a walk in the park for these ladies. They're definitely going to have to earn it. So we'll have to see. Eugene will give us a little bit more info on that in the upcoming minutes. But let's move on into our following segment, AJ. And any updates, any news, anything in regards to the world of Coapa for these ladies in this past week?
So I remember last week, America Femini were doing their COVID test where they then say that three people of the team happened to get positives. So they did their COVID testing once more, and it turns out that the one player, Jennifer Munoz, she actually has COVID-19. Though they did say she's asymptomatic, which is good, knowing showing no signs of any kind of symptoms from COVID. The isolation period for her is about to end, but they're going to keep a close eye on her and making sure that everyone, including making sure that her safety and with every other person in the club is following their protocols. That all is well.
Now, this is an interesting thing, and when the news broke, and I think we spoke about this on the side, AJ, it was like, I'm not surprised that her name was the one that was revealed. I think it makes you question now about this injury that was being told to the media that she had a torn leg muscle. Now I'm kind of curious if it was just all kind of a ruse to not come out and say that, Jen Munoz tested positive.
It's just I never truly understand how why is communication such an issue? Not just for America Femenil, but I think in the Liga MX Femenil as a whole. It just seems like the news sometimes you have to dig in deeper because you sometimes won't get the official word out from live press conferences from the team or news on Twitter, Instagram. So you have to look at the reporters or the journalists that are looking more deep into to figure out. Just like an example right now is Diana Casas. They have not said a word to is she injured? Is she fine? We clearly see her training with the team, but she never seems to get called up to the bench at all to just play with the team. So it's one of those things where it's can they not say anything? It's how is the injury process going for her? How's the rehab? Is she's going to be playing anytime soon? Then there's the thing with Ana Lozada. Apparently, what they're saying that she was injured or just out of the rotation, but then we see her in the photo for the official 2020 photo for America Femenil. She's present right there, and then we don't see Jennifer Munoz. And I see that how some people are just confused, where's Jen Munoz? It seems like people are not really getting up to date with all the news that are regarding what America Femenil. It's just it's an issue where I feel like they try to say something else to cover up what is truly happening with the play, which is why I get so many fans either confused, not being up to date with the team, or just flat out really frustrated to just say the truth. It's better to say the truth than to lie.
Yeah, I mean, Eugene, what's your take on this? I mean, you're obviously an avid, Liga MX Femenil follower. You know how this league operates and works. Especially with a player with the caliber of Jen Munoz. And I was telling these guys, if she was injured, you would imagine that she would be in training camp, that, a picture of her training would have came out. But for a good extent, for almost 2 weeks now, you see that there was no even mention of Jen Munoz on America Femenil's Twitter or Facebook or wherever they post. So, I mean, what's your take on all this whole COVID stuff with the players and the safety and everything, really?
Sure. Well, it's tough. I mean, you have to balance the concerns of the player. They may not want to, kind of come out and say that they have COVID. You also have to balance the concerns of their roommates. So, I mean, there's pictures of Jen and Jocelyn and who was the third?
Janae.
Janae, that's right. Yes, thank you. That are roommates. So, if Jen comes positive with COVID, your thoughts immediately go to, well, what about Janae? What about Jocelyn, right? And that's kind of not fair to them, right? Because everybody on the team should be tested. Everybody, just because you're in close proximity with somebody who has COVID or has been exposed to it doesn't necessarily mean that you have contracted it, right? So there's a kind of a lot going on there. It's not a balancing act. I would want to try and strike for sure. Something else to remember is that multiple things can be true at the same time. So it's possible Jen Munoz could have torn a leg muscle and have come down with COVID at the same time. It'd be awful, but
yeah, I mean that would be really bad.
Yeah,
but it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility either. So you always have to kind of weigh those things together, and I think with sports, especially modern sports, you almost never get the full story with injuries and things like that. So we may never know. I think regardless, we hope Jen and all the other players are safe and get healthy and stay healthy.
Yeah, no, I mean at the end of the day, I think the well-being of the player is really what has to matter in these situations.
For sure.
So, but yeah, a really good update, AJ. Yeah, Jen obviously was officially put on there that she was the one player asymptomatic, which I think is the good thing. Um, not that any of this is good by any means necessary, but the fact that she's asymptomatic, that's a positive sign in regards to that. And you mentioned her isolation period's almost over. Now the question is, if we're coming back into the realm of what Eugene was saying, is she still injured? I mean, obviously she hasn't been training for that set amount of time, so how much longer is that going to deteriorate from her being back on the pitch and getting herself back into rhythm? So, I mean, a lot of questions still revolving around Jen Munoz, and I think we will maybe get some answers tomorrow at the end of the game when Leo Cuellar, I'm sure, is going to be asked about this. So we'll have to wait and see. But now that we're on the whole Jen Munoz topic, Eugene, I do want to address something that happened last week, almost a week ago to this day, in regards to what is been going on kind of with this Liga MX Femenil and how some of these athletes are sometimes not treated as the professionals that they are. And I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit as to how you saw the whole Jen Munoz situation with, this reporter or magazine or whatever it was that came out and, put out that tabloid and, called her, Aguilas sensual and all that stuff, which again was improper, very, very inappropriate. And how do you think Jen Munoz dealt with the situation? And then, why do these things continue to happen to these players?
I wish I knew the answer to that. It's 2020. I don't know. I don't understand why people in sports media feel like they have to have the ability to kind of objectify players like that. I think Jen handled it great. I think kind of pushing back and saying, "Hey, this is wrong," was a great response. But I really don't understand why this sorts of thing kind of keeps happening. Aside from the fact that maybe there isn't enough representation for women in journalism, who would, if a colleague said something like that, would just look at them and like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I mean, but aside from that, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand why that person thought it was okay to say those things, especially in that context, and print that. Like, yeah, I can't.
Yeah, you imagine that the amount of time all of this went through. Like, someone had to approve this and give the okay. Like,
a lot of people had to see that and approve it and give it the okay and think that was just a perfectly acceptable thing to say. And I don't know. I wish I had a good answer.
Yeah, no, and I think that's how most of us feel. Like it's kind of like, we're left in this awe of like, why, there's got to be some sort of professionalism in you if you're going to be working in journalism, and the fact that you don't, and you completely cross the line and you disrespect someone's boundaries and to go and publicize something like that, I think it's just I mean, I could say a lot of words about it, but I don't think we're a very PG rated show sometimes, so I don't want to taint it with saying things like that. But I do feel like it's a very frustrating thing. Although the one thing that does come out of this is a unity across the league for players in this situation. And I think that is something that we should really applaud. These ladies, you saw people from, every team. You saw people from Chivas Femenil, obviously her own teammates, all other players from across the league coming and uniting and supporting Jen against this. And that was really truly a really beautiful moment and something that was very, very just flat out terrible. So unfortunately, that has to be, in the news. And I don't think that it should be. I think at the end of the day, it should just be, let's focus on their actual job, their professionalism, which is what they do on the pitch and not so much what is happening off the pitch. Because even if you wanted to talk about the off the pitch situation, I think Jen Munoz has a lot more to contribute than what you can quickly snapshot of someone's Instagram. And, if you want to go and dig deep into someone and talk about something else that is off the pitch, then like I mentioned, she's a great person. She was just talking about establishing a charity of her own and all this stuff. So I just think that there's better ways to go about this and talk about athletes in the proper manner and in the proper way. So, AJ, you want to weigh in just a little bit in regards to this?
I feel like you knocked it, like all you got, knocked it down. But it's just one of those things. Is like, is there like a true answer for it? Like, it's just really disrespectful, like how journalists think like something like that's completely fine. There's a saying goes like, think before you act, and it seemed like this journalist did not really think before they act, or the person who approved it. It's like, look at the post you made for just a brief moment and think, do you think that's something you really want to post? Think about the outcome of it, the positive and the negatives, which I'm pretty sure in this game, there's really no positive. They really shouldn't be. It's a whole lot of negatives, and realize that amount of Christian you're going to get. Because I did see the person who made that post originally, they got a lot of criticism for it. They're like, that is not completely okay. Everyone for the Liga MX and the Liga MX Feminine like community, there's even players who just like, this is unacceptable. Like, how would you make such a post like this? It's like, this reminds me, there's like always videos of just like, having like pins of like Hannah Gutierrez or JD Gutierrez. It's usually like a picture of them on Instagram. They want to represent this like this amazing player, but like, well, they are amazing, no doubt about it. It seems like it's like the pin is not really appropriate for like a video like that, or they just pinpoint that. It just seem like all the comments they get, it's just kind of like, that's not really something you should really be doing. Another one's Stephanie Jimenez. She's the goalkeeper for FC Juarez Femenil. All we ever see is posts just like, who is this Stephanie Jimenez check? And there's usually a lot of pictures from her just from her Instagram or social media, but never nothing about like football or education. It's just like they're more than just this. That's not an accurate representation of them for what you see on Instagram. So it's just ridiculous to see like how people like this, like, oh, they're only known for this. I'm like, no, they're known way more than just that. Like Jennifer Munoz, she's just not known just for some woman that just posts pictures of herself on Instagram. She attended college in the United States. She has an education. She's wanted to do charities around. She has a lot of ideas for what she wants to do in her own life. Even talking about like in Q&As, like she wants to be like something involved in the world of sports, which she would love to. And she's also a soccer player. So it's just one of the things is like, stop labeling this person just known for one thing. It's like, no, go do your research. This is what they're actually known for. They're known for many other things, just for that one thing you think that they're all about. It's just really frustrating, just like how like women in sports, that they just only get that kind of representation. I'm like, that's not them though. Stop picking things out from social media. I know that's who they're all about. It's just
no, yeah, I agree. That I think that, like Eugene mentioned, it's 2020. There's no reason for us to even be, I mean, no excuse for any of this to be valid any other year prior to 2020 either. So it's just got to do better, Mexico. Got to do much, much better at the professionalism when it comes to the feminine side of things. But alrighty then, we'll leave that at that. It is an ongoing and probably hours and hours that we can talk about this, but we don't want to drag on in such a negative connotation. Let's move forward. I think the players passed this, so we should get past this as well. Alrighty, gentlemen, let's move on into a little bit much lighter and happier note. Is that America Femenil is going to be playing against Santos Femenil tomorrow, actually, Friday, September 18th. That game is going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Eastern. AJ, do we have a viewing network that people can watch this in the States, or are we going to have to go in the deep dark web and try to find the link?
Thank goodness it is on TUDN. Unlike the last game for Leon, where I have to constantly, as soon as that game started, like I already had it on my Amazon Fire Stick, and I'm like, okay, it's time for you to start looking on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever it is for this Leon Femenil link. And thank the Lord I found one on YouTube. But thankfully this time it's going to be aired on TUDN in the States. So at the time that the game is going to start, just put TUDN on, and you can watch the America Femenil versus Santos Laguna Femenil match.
Awesome news. Eugene, it's sometimes a lot easier to find a Hungarian third division match than it is to find a Liga MX Femenil game. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's become easier and easier to find these matches over the past couple of seasons, which is great. I'd love to see them all broadcast on television in Mexico and the United States. But we're getting there. We're getting to the point now where TUDN is broadcasting a lot of games into the U.S. So a lot of their teams are getting representation, especially America. Chivas, your best friends have a deal with Telemundo Deportes, where they're showing that on their app. So that's cool too. So that getting that sort of thing is certainly helping raise the profile of the league, both here in the U.S. and internationally as well. Something that's cool is that TUDN will be broadcasting this game not only over the air, but also on Facebook. So if you're unable to get to a television, pull out your mobile device and hey, hop on Facebook and go to, I think it's TUDN USA. Pull up the screen. They'll have it streaming there as well, which is awesome. They're going to be doing that, I think, for 14 different matches throughout the rest of the year. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of America matches would be on there as well.
That's nine matches that's going to be on there. It's also just really nice that I saw on Facebook. Togo was like, if I don't feel like going on the TV, just pull my iPad or my laptop out, put on Facebook, and I could just then tweet on my phone in the meantime as well. So it's like, this is wonderful for me. I can enjoy it all.
No, it is. It's awesome. It's great. Because especially since these games are a little bit earlier than what most of us are used to. So some of us, unfortunately, like myself, are at work having to sneak our phone like under our arm for 90 minutes. We got to get creative. We do. We end up watching the game, but
safe with us.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't get to work tomorrow. They're like, Ivan, you're gonna have to give us your phone throughout the whole from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. But yeah, no, it's great to finally have these games broadcasted here in the States and especially over the air in regards to TUDN and stuff like that. So kudos to them. Hopefully we get more of those matches in the upcoming years to come, and hopefully we can get a deal where it's just like, okay, it's all these matches are going to be broadcasted now. So hopefully they can find a way around it. I know it's very tricky, and if it was just up to us, we'd give the green light, but obviously they have a lot more other stuff to think about than just that. But all right, gentlemen, let's talk more about this game, America versus Santos. Eugene, tell me a little bit more about the Santos Femenil side. How are they coming into this game? What's their record looking like, and how do you think they're going to try to fare off against America Femenil?
Sure. So Santos, they are doing. I mean, they're one of the lowest teams in the league right now. Let's be honest. Their record is 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 losses. But they were able to beat Pumas at home, and they were able to get a tough draw against. Oh God, I'm blanking on it.
Chivas.
Yes. Yeah. Last week, in Guadalajara. If you watch the game, the goalkeepers on both teams were absolutely phenomenal. JD, no disrespect to JD, everybody likes JD here, but Wendy Toledo from Santos and
Blanca Felix.
Yep, thank you, from Chivas, put on a show. And it's gonna be tough for America. I know, America's offense is among the best in the league, but they're gonna come up against a defense that's pretty. It's starting to put themselves together, and when you have Wendy Toledo in net, man, that's just that extra X factor that kind of helps keep things straight and on the narrow.
Well, you know what? I'm always a fan of a good goalkeeper off, so I'm excited to see how America Femenil is going to test, Santos keeper, and of course, I want to see if JD can step up to the plate, because I think she's definitely one of the most talented goalkeepers that the Liga MX Femenil has right now. I think she might be a little bit underrated. But I think this year and the next year that's coming up is really crucial for her to kind of step up and kind of raise your hand and say, look, I'm up there for a starting spot in the Mexican national team, and and to be named as one of the, or if not the best goalkeeper in the league. So obviously she's still very young, has a lot of room to grow, and I think the more that she's put to the test, I think the better that she's going to be. The better that she's going to become. So hopefully we get to see a very good Santos from the inside come at us, AJ. And I think that might be the case because we've talked about this time and time again. Whenever teams come and play against America, they always seem to dial it up a little bit by 10 and always see the best side of them. So we're probably going to see a much better Santos from the inside than in these prior games. I mean, you saw the perfect example against Chivas. They got a very good draw against them. Granted, the other goalkeeper had the game that they had, but like Eugene was mentioning, defense starting to gel a little bit more. You got a goalkeeper in form, and I'm pretty sure these ladies are going to be hungry for this matchup and for this upset.
So actually, because I feel like it's one of those teams where I feel like knowing if the team you're gonna play against just can know how to score goals. And seeing at this point, it's like the other team's gonna be like, I'm not gonna try to score goals because if we just try to expose ourselves with the defense as well, that other team is just gonna just go right on that counterattack and score as many goals as they want to. So I feel like in this case, if you're playing a team like that, go all out defense. If you're not confident enough to score goals for the team, it's like play defense. We can wear them out as much as we want to, and then when we finally find that golden opportunity, the team that's constantly defending throughout the entire match is just going to break through. And if it can get that one goal in, then that's all that matters to them. Because the last time America did play against Santos Femenil, this was in Jornada 3 in January 2020 in the Clausura. America Femenil did happen to beat Santos, but it was only 3-2. We had a goal from Alexia Villanueva in the 23rd minute. Then the 60th and 63rd minute, we had 2 goals coming from Running Campa. But then within that span, it then started in the 55th minute where Santos Femenil's Cynthia Pereza scored the first goal, and in the 64th minute, Jocelyn Hernandez scored the goals in the 55th and 64th minutes. It's one of those cases where it's like you can score goals, but then that always going to score right back. So it's just one of those things like we shouldn't really be sleeping on Santos Femenil, even though they're strong this team. It's a thing. It's like think of it as like the first game of the season. Act like as if you never played before and see how the game is going to turn out. Wendy Toledo did play in that match, and she was performing amazing saves against her. Actually, it could test Dania Espinosa, whoever we're going to have up front for America Femenil, to see how much can Wendy Toledo handle with every ball coming right at her and just being able to block it. So it's one of those things where it's just like, there's going to be some issues coming against Santos Femenil, but it's just Toledo specifically because Dani Espinosa, a really deadly striker, but she does happen to hit the post a lot, or she would get her shot on target, but it feels like she could be aiming the ball elsewhere, but it seems to go like direct at the goalie. So with Toledo, it's one of those things like you need to have some kind of trick up your sleeve to try to trick her and to make you think you're going to put the ball where she wants you to put it, but then you just put it in another direction. So it's just one of those things. It's like, coming to this game, Santos Femenil, it's going to be one of those teams where it's like, I feel they're going to play defensive on us. So we're going to have to be really careful, especially with Wendy Toledo, because she might be the difference into this team and possibly getting, who knows, maybe another draw, just like what she did against Chivas Femenil, blocking every single shot and just keeping her team into the game.
No, I think you're right. Eugene, is it fair to say I'm expecting a Santos Femenil side to come in, play a very compact game, very defensive, very well organized and very structured as most, and try to wear out America as long as they can. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think the game plan is going to be different?
No, I think you're spot on with that. I think Santos knows that they're not going to win a shootout with America. They're not going to win a 5-4 game or anything like that, anything crazy like that. So they're going to play compact. They're going to play defensive. They're going to look to keep players behind the ball, and I think they're also going to try and get their goals from set pieces. Cynthia Peraza, uh, like you mentioned, she scored in the last game, and that's how that's how she does. If you give her an opportunity between 20-25 yards out from goal, she's deadly. That's how she was able to beat Pumas. That's how she got her goal against America last time. So I think they're going to try and angle for some set pieces down in that 20 to 25 yard range, and let her stand over the ball and try and hit one in. But yeah, I think overall it's going to be very defensive. I think they're going to keep players back. I think they're going to try and limit the spaces that the America forwards have. And I think I hate to say it, but not having Jen Munoz is going to be good, because Jen is one of those two-way players that drops back at the right times, but also pushes forward. So they're not really going to have to account for that kind of motion from a six, right? So I think that's going to help Santos out even a little bit more. Is that going to make the difference? It's hard to say, but that's certainly just another thing kind of going in their favor.
This is interesting, very very interesting, and I'll say this much, AJ. It looks like America Family is gonna have to start and try to get this game going from the get go. I don't think you have to give Santos any chance at all to settle into this game whatsoever. I think from the start you have to take this game and really rush towards that goal, and if you can nick yourself an early goal, I think that changes the game completely on its head, and I think it forces Santos to maybe be a little bit more daring, a little bit more adventurous, and try to push up lines, which I think obviously is going to help America Femenil, and could definitely really open the floodgates for this game to be I'm not going to say a 6-1 victory for them, but it gives them the opportunity to, get more goals in and hopefully, have a well-rounded game in regards to that aspect. But if you let this team settle in, if you let this team kind of close the gaps, get a read of you, and I think that's when you're looking at this America Family side chucking the balls in, going through the kind of getting a little bit desperate and just going long ball after long ball. I mean, wouldn't you be surprised if Jocelyn somehow ends up being a striker for the remaining last 15 minutes of the match, And that's one thing you do not want, because now you're subjecting yourself to the counterattack. And we've known and we've seen that sometimes this defense sometimes is a bit fragile. There's moments in times where they're not clicking, that there's a moment that is just put off. So it does worry me that if America Femenil doesn't get themselves an early goal, that this could be a match that is really, really going to be one to see who can drag it out the longest. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know, AJ, give me your predicted lineup. Do you think we're going with the 4-4-2? We're going with the 4-3-3? What do you think works best in a situation like this? And what player do you think is crucial in order to break the Santos defense?
Okay, so I did predict the correct lineup, but I did not predict the correct formation. So I think, you know what, I'm going to stop with 4-4-2, guy. I just think Goyar's just going to be like, I'm not listening to you. Yeah, I'll put the players that you going to definitely want, but I'm not putting them in that formation. No way, Jose. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going 4-3-3. So we have JD Gutierrez as our goalie, as usual. Left back, Jimena Rios. Our two center backs, Jocelyn Orejes, Celine Valera. Right back, Monica Rodriguez. In the midfield, we're going to have Veronica Perez on the left, Cassandra Cuevas on the right. Right behind Daniela Espinosa is going to be Martin Campa. And then up front on the left wing side, you're going to have Montserrat Hernandez. On the right wing, you're going to have Janae Gonzalez. And then up front, you're going to have Daniela Espinosa. And I think the player that's going to really need to shine in this one, it's going to be Daniela Espinosa. She's already had 5 goals coming into this temporada so far. So it's crucial for her to continuously keep scoring those goals and to just try to pressure that goalkeeper from trying to just tire them out, make save after save. Yeah, you're blocking all the shot, but how it's like a game for Daniela to see how much can she break the opposition down, their goalkeeper. How much can they make them trying to make a save before they just completely just tire themselves out. And then Daniela finds the golden opportunity for her to just score a goal. So I think with her, it's going to be very crucial for her in this game to rack up those goals against Santos Cerny. But that is if a goal's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. And I will get to what you're just saying, but I just want to address this comment by Jose Sepulveda saying, why does Jenny barely play? By Jenny, I would assume he's talking about Jen Munoz. And we just mentioned, Jose, if you just joining us right now, Jen Munoz, of course, has come back tested positive, asymptomatic for coronavirus. Her isolation period is coming up to an end. So, she's going to be out potentially for the next, 2-3 games, I would say, from America. And we'll see, if she's up to rhythm and if she's able to, start eventually down the line. So, we wish for a speedy recovery in regards to that aspect, because like Eugene mentioned, Jen is definitely going to be a crucial piece that America is not going to have for such a game like this. AJ, you mentioned that Dani definitely needs to get her shooting boots on this game and hopefully bag a couple of goals. Obviously, she's definitely looking that for just one goal. All one goal will do for her in order to break that record and put herself down in the history book as America Femenil all-time goal scorer, which I think would be iconic and very historic in that aspect. But, as the captain of this team, I think she bears a lot of responsibility in not just leading by example on the pitch, but I think sometimes in games like this, where the opposition is going to close themselves down, I think a lot of the responsibility weighs on you as the captain, as the position that you're playing, that you kind of have to carry the team on your shoulders from time to time and maybe try to, I'm not going to say win this yourself, but really come up with something brilliant in order to kind of break open that defense. And if she has an opportunity or two, she has to bury them, because I think and we saw it perfectly against Leon, the more chances that she had and the more chances that she missed, the less confident she looked like scoring in the following opportunity that she got. So early goal from her would be absolutely crucial, detrimental. I think she is carrying a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, knowing that she has this all-time record to break. So hopefully that one goal just completely gives her that sigh of relief, and she can go on and carry on doing what she's doing. I think another player that you mentioned that will potentially start is Campa. I think her role in this America side has been very interesting. We've expected her to be kind of this other, forward and striker with Dani, yet we haven't really seen that. She's been more in the midfield side of things, but I have seen her be kind of very productive in that sense. She's gotten herself a couple goals. She's putting herself in very good positioning. I mean, I think she could be key to this game as well. I think what goes through her feet is going to be important, and hopefully that she's able to help Dani in that aspect of breaking this defense down, finding a couple key passes, and hey, why not take a long range shot? You never know. Time to time, those end up going in the back of the net as well. So should be an interesting one. Eugene, out of the Santos Femenil players, besides the goalkeeper, because you guys keep mentioning her, and I'm a little bit more worried than I should be. Who else does America need to look out for in regards to this Santos Femenil side that maybe not a lot of eyes will be on her, but she will definitely have the capability of changing this game for Santos?
Sure. So I think Cynthia Peraza is definitely the one you got to watch out for. She's the captain. Midfielder, like I said earlier, she's fantastic on set pieces, just an assassin from like 20 yards out. But she also kind of provides a little bit of defensive grit. Can drop back a little deeper when needed, and rush up in plays to kind of help out as well. For odd number rushes and all that kind of thing. I would watch out for her and Paleta Gomez as well. She's a striker. She's kind of been given a second chance. I think last season she kind of got relegated to the bench a little bit, but was given a new lease with Martin Perez coming in to manage the club, and has performed fairly well. So far this season, obviously, Santos as a whole has improvements to make, but I think the two of those are very good players, and given the right opportunity, can really shine and help them out.
Well then, AJ, looks like we have certain players to keep an eye on for tomorrow.
There's one player I also had in particular. Maybe she starts Alexia Villanueva because America Family did loan her out, and she did score this crazy golazo, which I think it was against Monterrey. I think it was in the first game of the season. I just know that she scored a goal, or I think it could be against Tigres probably. Either or, like she did score this crazy goal where she just picked the ball from the fair, just go for a shot, and it just went right out of the hands of the goalkeeper and go right in. And I've seen Alexia Villanueva when she has played in America. She is young, but when you're giving her the opportunity to pass, she will go and attack in that box and just try to get herself a goal in. I feel like she does have the physicality because there are times where she does get a bit rough on the defense where she's gonna maybe throw like a shove or two in and just use her pace to just get a shot on goal. I've seen her, and I'm just really wondering like how she might fit into the Santos feminine sides because I feel like she maybe could surprise against America Femenil, considering, like I mentioned before, Ivan, when they played against Leon Femenil, Lucero Cuevas might know a thing or two of how the America Femenil defense worked. Yeah, we had an addition in Jocelyn Orejel, but she also played alongside with her at Cholos Femenil. So I think in this case, it could probably be in the same thing. If Alexia Villanueva does happen to start or sub in, she has an idea or two to how this America defense works. She can maybe use that to her advantage to maybe, out muscle them and just maybe give them a light shove and just to try to do something into that box, whether it be a pass or a shot in the box. I feel like that can also be another player that, I would like to keep an eye out for Santos Femenil.
Well, all right then. A lot of interesting names being brought to the table. Let's see if America Femenil is up to the test in regards to that aspect. All right, gentlemen. Time to talk predictions in regards to what tomorrow's game is going to be looking like. Eugene, you're our guest, so I'm going to throw it to you first. Your prediction for tomorrow's matchup, America versus Santos.
Oh, I hate these things.
We all hate them, but at the same time, we love them.
I'm just terrible at them. I think it's going to be a good game. I think that just the way that these two teams are coming in really lends itself for a good game. I think America is going to be maybe a half step slow for having to play a midweek game, which is going to help Santos be able to keep pace with them. Santos has never beaten America. They've lost both games that they've played. I think we're in for a 1-1 game. I think it's going to be a draw. I think Santos is going to get a point. I think neither team is going to walk away happy, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, 1-1. Well, that'd be quite the story to tell next week's episode if America Family does get that result. But we'll have to wait and see. AJ, your prediction?
I'm going to keep going with this until it will happen. I'm going with that 3-0 win. I feel like I'm going to feel confident that we can defeat the Santos on Laguna Femenil side, but if we do happen to get a draw, I'll be so upset. But at the same time, I'm confident in this team, but just you never know. Like sometimes against like sides that really haven't been like getting anything really going this season, just somehow always to irritate America in some way, shape, or form where it's like we can't get a shot going or our forwards does some, but just the ball goes like way off target. So I feel like in this case, I'm feeling pretty confident. I'd say, a 3-0 victory for America Femenil. Keep the undefeated streak going. If we do draw, hey, we're still undefeated. So I can't be upset about that, but then it's just a point as well against Santos Femenil. But see what happens. I'll go with 3-0.
3-0 as always. AJ being very adventurous with his prediction. You know what? I'm with you, Eugene. I think this is going to be a very good game, very interesting one. I think it's going to be, I'm not going to say a lot of back and forth, but I do think we're going to see a lot of America on the ball. But are they going to get frustrated? Are they going to get themselves in situations where they don't know how to break down these defenses? And I think this is a game that really tests whether you're really going to be capable of pushing for that title because, championship sides know how to break defenses down. And if America's able to do that against Santos, then, well, hey, they can definitely chuck their name up there in regards to that title run. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow on Friday. And as far as predictions go, I'm going to be a little bit adventurous, and I'm going to say 2-0 America Femenil. Look, all I ask for is a victory and a clean sheet. And for some reason, I haven't been able to get that for a long time. So, please, just give me the clean sheet. And the victory, please. I don't want to walk out with a 0-0 either. But we'll see. Hey, like Eugene said, we never know. We could be spot on or we could be terribly far away in regards to these predictions. But yeah, you guys can catch that game again tomorrow. It's on Friday. TUDN for people here in the States and for Mexico as well. TUDN is going to be the channel that you can catch that 2 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Eastern. And also, ladies, if you're watching this, if you're hearing this by any chance necessary, look, tomorrow is my birthday, and I would really appreciate it if we walked away with 3 points and a clean sheet. That would actually be the perfect birthday gift. Okay, so I'm just putting out there, no extra pressure, nothing, whatever. But hey, help your friend out and do me a solid for my birthday. All right. So, gentlemen, anything else to say in regards to this game before we wrap it all up?
Catch the game on Facebook too. You forgot to mention that. So just in case you're not unable to, just turn your TV on a bit too lazy, or you don't have a TV by any chance, get your phone out, laptop, iPad, and go catch the game on Facebook too.
Yep, exactly like AJ said. If you're going to be just like me, you got to be at work, and for some chance you have to take a 2-hour, 15-minute break, then hey, so be it. I'm kidding. No, don't do that. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up, gentlemen. I think we've talked it all. Obviously, America Femenil has a game much right after on Monday against Atlas. We'll try to get some form of coverage for that in regards to that game. So we'll be talking more Lady Aguilas stuff here on the podcast. Eugene, thank you so much for coming on the podcast as always, my friend. It's always great to see you. Hope that you're doing well. Hope the family's great, and keep putting up the work that you're doing. We're loving everything you're doing for both Liga MX and Liga MX Femenil.
Thank you, and hey, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I think tomorrow we may have different feelings about the outcome of the game. Hey, I love you the same, and I love the work you're doing, man. You guys keep it up, and thanks again for having me on. I'm honored to be here.
No, always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. Alrighty then, thank you so much to everyone that came out today, to Jose Sepulveda, to La Monumental in New York, to Louis, to every single one of you guys, David, Ryan, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on here, and for everyone listening on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever it is that you may listen to this. Thank you so much for your support. And as to our sponsors as well, Footcall, thank you so much for putting your trust in us. And as always, this episode is brought to you guys by Footcall. Make sure you guys go use the discount code EEP at checkout for any of the Footcall gear that you may like on there. Alrighty, gentlemen, thank you so much. Have yourselves a wonderful night. We'll be in contact. We'll talk more Lady Aguilas in the future. And yeah, ladies, keeping my fingers crossed for that clean sheet tomorrow. Alrighty then, everyone, have a good night. Be safe, wear your masks, and as always, Arriba America. Good night, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.